we start with telling us who you are?
Well, I'm Brian Van Vliet. I've lived in Calgary, in the south of Calgary, for the last 23 years. I got into real estate just over a year ago and making some good connections and looking forward to meeting a lot of new people and new clients.
So where did you grow up in Canada?
I grew up in Mississauga, Ontario, spent some time in Kitchener. When I was young, though, my dad was an engineer, and so we transferred to Holland and France as well. So I got to see a little bit of Europe in my younger years as well, which was pretty great.
Nice. And was that during the elementary years or the junior high?
It was in the elementary years, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and then we came back to Canada, lived in Mississauga and kind of moved closer to the border, ending up in Windsor, and then met my wife and moved to BC.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
And then from BC to
Calgary.
Calgary, and that was 23 years ago.
Yeah, 95 we came here, in May of 95.
Gotcha. So you've been here long enough to see a lot of the changes that the city's
Tons
gone
of
through.
changes, yeah. Government, through recessions, through the high times, the whole bit.
You were here for your adult life, basically,
Yes.
right? For the most part. Okay, what are some of the most notable things that you either really like about what's happened in Calgary, or things that just you've noticed that maybe others aren't aware of?
I love when energy prices are up, when the economy's stimulated, the spike in housing, the spike in everything. It's a real good energy in the city. We're obviously working towards getting that back again, but that's something that I love about this city. Very different than Ontario was. We're quite dependent on the resource industry.
Sure, yeah, that's actually, I've never heard that before, but yeah, just that we talk about energy because we're pulling it out of the ground, but you're speaking more to
There's a cultural energy that takes place too.
Neat.
So,
and has things changed since 93 now to where we are? We're trying to get it back, but have you noticed kind of any other changes to the city?
obviously, if we're talking growth in terms of when I came here originally, I thought, wow, the streets are virtually empty. And my wife and I would always comment on that. And now it's traffic jam, even getting out here today. It took a while. There's more people, there's more going on.
So you said you've been in real estate now coming on 1 year.
That's correct, yeah.
And what made you jump into that in the first place?
Well, there's a variety of reasons. I had purchased 3 properties in the US over the last few years. So I was really interested in the US-Canada real estate. And then working with realtors, quite honestly, a lot of times I thought, you know what, there's some areas that I think I could improve on. And so I take a lot of pride in working with clients and really trying to get them exactly what they want, or trying to get the dollar that they want to get out of their house, and really working with them. So my biggest satisfaction in the business is the exuberance of the clients when the deal is done. And there's a high you get from that, and I sort of play off of that.
Well, that's neat to say, and I think I've heard that a few times with people that enter the industry. They've had an experience that they believe that they could do better with, and it sounds like that's near and dear to your heart.
It is for sure.
And then that high as you hand those keys over, it's quite addicting in a sense, right?
It is, and then you get a nice note from the person, or you go out for a celebratory lunch or dinner, and it really gives a different feeling, and I enjoy that part of it.
Yeah, we're really helping people through life's biggest transitions, not just buying and selling home.
It is, and that's a good point that you raise, because I've worked with first-time home buyers, and they're nervous and trepidation, and so there's a lot of coaching and teaching as we go along to calm the nerves. There's more than one house, because sometimes they want to jump in and put offers on everything that they see, and so I enjoy that, and I think having gray hair gives me a little wisdom, and sometimes I can calm down that situation and really help them and then at the end of the process, they're super happy and you feel good about what you've done for them.
I love that. The gray hair is giving me a little wisdom, and we might have to earn it, but you're getting it already.
I got that, yeah.
Well, what did you do before you got into real estate?
Directly before I moved into real estate, I was working in oil and gas, and I was a continuous improvement specialist. So that meant helping with systems to make things run smoother, to make things run cleaner, and project management. So seeing, and this is something that I relate to real estate, because I look at working with each client as a project, and it's my job to make sure that everything runs smoothly from start to finish. Whether that be showing houses, getting a contract by a certain date, I treat each one as a project. So that's how I correlate what I did in my past life to what I'm doing now. and gives me a little bit of experience from a business standpoint and from a project management standpoint that others may not have. So
yeah, I was going to say, as you're saying that, give you a bit of an edge where you're thinking things through systematically, where maybe a lot of agents out there might not take that same level of detail or that approach that you have in your background.
Correct. Yeah, that's where I see that work life correlating with this work life. It's very similar. Taking that project, going with it, and making sure that everything's completed on time and done right.
A happy, satisfied client.
That's right. There's no feeling like it.
We hinted a little bit about one of your favorite things in selling real estate, but did we find the most favorite thing?
The negotiation process. I'm an adrenaline-driven guy, and I love the negotiation process, the back and forth, or winning one for the clients, that sort of thing. That would be, and I love showing homes. I'll go all day showing homes, because when I was younger, my dad and I used to, just for fun on weekends, we'd go into houses, new houses. I love it. Having me out, I don't even feel like it's work when I'm taking people to houses.
So you're addicted, kind of like to HGTV, but it's real for us.
But it's real, exactly.
Very nice, very nice. You've been in the business for about a year now. Have you come across any really wild and crazy stories yet?
Yes, and it was actually funny that you should ask that. It was, and I don't want to name names or anything, but I had a listing. It was an attached property, and years before, like 4 years before, there had been a leak in the roof and water had run on the other side. The leak in the roof was fixed. Needless to say, the neighbor was still upset about it. So when I was running open houses, she had neighbors coming out intercepting everybody that came to the house to say, don't buy this house. It was unbelievable. It was one of my first experiences, so I feel like I was put through the trenches very, very early in my career.
Yeah, is this really what it's going to be like?
I couldn't believe it. And I spoke to my broker at the time, and he laughed and said, I've never had that happen to me. Now I can look back on it and laugh, but when I was running open houses and you're a little nervous and that sort of thing, it was a bit of a slap for sure.
Oh, for sure. That first few deals it feels like it's everything.
Sure.
And then all of a sudden you got the world against you, this neighbor.
And she had other neighbors on the street, so in case she wasn't there, they would come out. So it's a crazy story.
That's a good one. That's one of the better ones I've come across. I've never had that done. Well, what's one thing that most people don't know about you?
A couple of things. Looking at me, you wouldn't know that I was once a competitive bodybuilder, and I'm a brown belt in karate as well, so I'm very addicted to sports and that kind of life.
That's really unique. Yeah, I didn't know that either. So that's really quite interesting. But there's other things too. So have you written a book as well?
That's correct. I worked with former Ottawa Senator goaltenders coach Eli Wilson, and we wrote a book on goaltending together. And we had some really cool things. Kelly Rudy, he wrote the foreword for us. Carey Price agreed to be on the cover of the book. So we got it into major bookstores. And that was always a dream of mine since I was a little boy, to have my name on the front of a hockey book. And it was almost like the birth of a child. When that book arrived at our house the first time, my kids were all around and we took it out. It was pretty cool. And
it would be really proud.
Yeah, I'm proud of that accomplishment for sure.
Absolutely. Very neat. And again, very unique. Not most people would have done something like that.
Yeah, it kind of fell into my lap. I got a call, and the publisher actually made me try out. I had to write a mock chapter, and if they liked it, they would accept it. So it was kind of like being back in school doing an exam. So it was pretty fun.
So writing these 1,020 character listing descriptions, that's no problem.
Yeah, that's a fun thing for me. So probably a little different than a goaltending book, but
Sure.
Still the English language nonetheless.
It's funny when I talk to agents, that's like one of the biggest nightmares is that they spend hours on this 1,000 characters, but I think you'd knock that off.
You want to get it right, and of course I never want to have an error in mind, because I take pride now. It's kind of a thing that I should make sure there are no errors in my listing. So it's something that I can tell my clients, that the listings will be error-free.
I can get away with that because I did engineering English, so we're not supposed to be able to write. Have you developed, or is there a certain segment in real estate that you've either started to focus on because you really like it and embrace it, or that you're thinking that that's where your career is going to be going?
I would love to really focus on working with new home buyers and people in my age group that are looking to downsize. I'm not in my 30s, so my friends aren't all looking to buy houses right now. My kids, one of my kids is in her 30s, so we try to play to those. But I think that for people that are looking to sell their home, downsize, that's a perfect clientele for me to work with, because I can relate to them and that stage of their life and what they're going through, and really work with them to help them get into the right place and get the right value for their house.
Yeah, because that's a life transition that's quite different than kind of the trajectory upwards as we go through our career.
Exactly.
That you help with most buyers. So yeah, I can see that a lot. Oh yeah, this is one I kind of call like the Myth Buster series in a sense, but some things the consumer should know about the world of real estate that you think they may not be fully aware of.
I have one interesting one. People are always under the assumption that they need to list in the spring or summer. And I think sometimes what they don't think about is the supply and demand, because you get this influx of homes on the market in the spring, in the summer. And what that does is it creates, you have so many listings out there, so much to choose from, that in fact it can push down the price of the house being put on the market at that time. If you go in September and you do a 3-month run up to December, you have people that put their house on the market and nobody's going out in -20 to look at houses that aren't serious. So it sometimes can be an advantage to list sort of in the fall and have that 3-month run up and sell your place in December. So that's something that at certain times of the year I talk to people about and say, don't be afraid to list it in the fall or in the winter.
Yeah, that is a really good point, because there's so much effort and emphasis put around the meaty markets, April, May, June.
Sure.
But
and there's also, if people think, well, my house is going to sell in June, it may take 60 days. So in fact, you need to put it on in April. So there's always that thought. People may look in the newspaper and see home sales are up at this time, and they think, well, this is when I need to sell. Yeah. But there are ways to kind of challenge that market.
For sure. So for you, being newer in the business, why do you think that has really little to no effect on your ability to be extremely successful with your clients and for your clients?
Because I equate real estate with business, and I have a business background. I understand money. I understand, people trying to get the most for their property or trying to find the best deal. I think that my world experience, I've bought and sold a lot of houses personally. I think that I'm able to jump right in, relate to people. I'm a people person, so I relate to people and work with them to achieve their goals. So I really don't see it being a hang up at all.
For sure, and you're with your project management, the detail background that you have, again, casing a community, going through something maybe in a community that you haven't worked in before, it's going to be no problem for you.
Right, learning, understanding, and then talking to the people in the community to let them know that I'm here and available.
For sure, and you've had a great successful run in your career so far, proving that that's irrelevant.
Right.
What can your would-be clients expect from you, the ones that you haven't worked with yet?
My would-be clients can expect, first, very calm and patient. I'm never going to push anybody into listing with me or selling at a certain price. I'm always going to let them decide. In the end, it's their asset, it's their property, and it's their decision. I will, though, coach and educate a little bit if people don't have an understanding of certain things in the business or how a house sale takes place. So I use those opportunities to work with my clients and teach them, and I found that they're very responsive to that. They're not responsive to pushiness, they're responsive to me listening instead of talking, and then sometimes helping and coaching them along the way.
And like we were discussing when you came in here about providing them the confidence and the value that this is the direction you should be thinking about, as far as that you won't push them there, but with your experience and what you know about buying and selling and ratios, that you can guide them in the right direction without making it feel like you're pushing them down there.
Exactly, and they reach that conclusion on their own. So it's almost like a psychologist will work with somebody and have you reach that answer on your own.
Education-based reasoning, right?
Exactly, yeah. And I'm very patient. So like I said earlier, I have no problem taking people out and showing them lots and lots of houses. So
It's feeding the addiction.
Yeah, it's fun. It really is. So.
We know we've learned a lot about you today. What else can you tell us about yourself?
Well, I think number one, as I say, I'm a people person. I'm a friendly guy. I want the best for people. So I'm not in a desperate situation where I need the paycheck and push to get the paycheck. I want to build my career over the next 10 years where I've got a huge base of happy customers that tell their friends and they want to work with me. They want to spend time and get these deals done.
So here's one that I didn't write down. The market's not that easy right now. What would we say to would-be sellers?
The first thing I do if I'm going into a listing presentation is I show them what's sold and what the average days on market. So you've already given them an idea of what they're looking at in terms of time to sell the house, in terms of potential money that they're going to get in. So I think if you make them aware and you don't sell them on a fantasy and tell them, oh, you're going to get $30,000 more than you think you're going to get, and it's going to sell in 10 days and set them up for failure, set yourself up for failure. I think in these times we need to be really reasonable and realistic with our clients. And sometimes they don't like to hear what we have to say, but we have to tell them. That's our job.
That's right. We understand the pace of the market more so than those that are just watching from afar and seeing list prices.
That's right.
They're unaware of what's happening behind the scenes, and it's on us. It's our responsibility.
Yes, and if we go into a listing presentation showing what the neighbor's house is listed at, we're setting, because those are unreal expectations. Again, you have to go to the solds. You can show them, hey, this is what he's selling at right now, but here's what's sold, so let's value your house at this and set the price here.
That's right.
And then I think you're kind of delivering what you say you're going to deliver to the client.
Well, good. Well, we're so excited to have you on board with us, and you are an amazing fit, and I can't wait to dive deeper into those things we started to talk about and to show the world what you're going to do here in this career. So thank you once again.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for doing this.
Yeah, so onwards and upwards.
Yep.